Hey, what's up? What's happening? Welcome back once again to GC Talk, man. We're family talking about all, man. Well, it seems like it's just family, but hey, we're gonna do what it do. And today we're gonna do something a little different, man. We're gonna talk about family trauma and how to get past it. You know what I'm saying? We've all had our family traumas, things that's really impacted us. There's shackles that I feel like that's on us mentally that we're still trying to break. And not to say that it's anything wrong that the parents did. They was just doing what they was taught, right? Our family was doing what they was taught. So, we're gonna unpack that a little bit, and then we're gonna talk about some ways also, to get past those things. And I'm gonna kick it to you first, man. How you feel about these things? How did it kind of affect you, and how you kind of moving forward?
Family traumas, how did it impact me? So for me, obviously, when you're young, it's a lot of things you just don't know. And so you operating on a lot of assumptions. You're formulating a whole lot of opinions and thoughts and emotions, and you're coming to conclusions, and you don't necessarily have a full story on things. Like you think you're observing something, but you don't understand the context as it relates to adults. Adults having these experiences. Your perspective is you're looking at it from a child's perspective, and so you formulate these things in your head, and you sometimes think that that's how it was, and sometimes you might be missing a key component of need to know information that could potentially like change your whole perspective on something. And what I mean by that is just growing up and you seeing things, and then you get in your 20s and you pissed off or mad and upset at your parents about things and just family in general. But then when you actually do a deeper dive into like what were they going through at that time, and then when you insert yourself in that situation, you're like, well, how would I have handled those things if I was take them out of that scenario, put me there in that age? And you're like, oh, okay. It's like, wow, they legitimately probably did the best that they could. And I was holding them to this crazy standard that it was impossible for them to live up to, especially looking at some of the things that may have been passed down to them. Some good, some not so, some that things that could have been better, but could it have been better if that's all you know? And so when you start getting into that helps you start the process of getting on the other side
of it. Yeah, we're gonna touch back on that. I'm gonna let you make it, but we're gonna move on. We're gonna come back to that because I got some questions.
But I mean, that's my life, and that's how I actually have gotten past it. Like really, truly extended grace and really thinking about it from their lens versus just coming from a straight judgment. I'm hurt, and I keep retelling the story of me being hurt, and which is keeping me further stuck in that hurt in my head. And then that's how I'm treating them, and not wanting to be associated with them, not really wanting to like own up to the things that I do have control over. And then it's totally focusing on all the perceived negative aspects of things and just losing sight of, like, almost you would think I grew up in the gutter if as much as I focus on as a person could sometimes get caught up in focusing on all of the negative, and you forget about any of the positive. Like, oh, so you didn't have any positive things that happened? And so that's my point, and so okay. I realized I had got absorbed in like a lot of the things that could have been better, but I didn't give it as much energy and attention to the positive things. I didn't have that same type of energy with focusing on a lot of the good things, because there were a lot of great things actually.
Nice. Okay. We're gonna kick it to KJ, man. You know what I'm saying? What's your take on this?
Like you say, like it's important, man. Like it's important to talk about this. Is like I know for me, my my experience, right? Growing up in at first growing up in a 2-parent household, and then they splitting apart and going through the things, not seeing one parent and not seeing this parent, and they like kind of fighting, against each other, trying to make sure like, oh, I get to see, like seeing stuff like that. It kind of affects you, and then growing up, like moving into like 1-parent household, like. You going out, like for instance, I played sports, so like I would play sports or whatever. It'd be plenty of times where like I'm out there practicing or whatever, got games, and it's only one parent there. You feel me? Like I'm only seeing one parent at every game, and meanwhile I got my other homies, my other guys. They both of their parents there. You feel me? So I feel like they kind of in turn kind of made me look like, dang, like this is what parents are supposed to do. Like like they supposed to fight and like never supposed to be there for their child, support their child, you know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. And so I just grew up with that type of mentality, made me always question, you know what I'm saying? And it turned into questioning both of my parents, you know what I mean? And just asking like what are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? Y'all going back and forth, but like what are y'all doing? Like y'all not, thinking about, you know what I'm saying, your kids' opinions and they life, they life choices and stuff like that. So we can talk more about that later. But yeah, that's my whole take on it right now. So
Okay. And I got a question. So when was the point, I guess, where you felt like you saw something different? Because you said, okay, playing sports, you had one parent there. It must have been nice because I don't know nothing about that because I was by myself. Anyways, you had you had one parent there, right? When was that point where you realized like this might not be in my mind, like this is something different because I'm seeing, everybody else parents there, they're supporting, and they're all there as a group, as a unit. When did you kind of realize like my family dynamics was a little different?
I say probably like as soon as like, the separation happened and, playing ball. Cause like, growing up, I that was normal to me seeing both my parents go to, you know what I'm saying, come to my games, come to my practice. But like, once that separation happened or whatever, and then like I would go to practice or I would go to this and they'd be like, we look at me, as kids, we have conversations like, yeah, I gotta go home, mom's cooking this and pop's doing this, whatever, or this weekend I'm going to hang out with my dad, we're going fishing and I might be doing this with my mom. It made me sit back and think like, dang, when last time I did that? Or you know what I mean? Like I started thinking like, okay, so when I'm gonna hang out with my mom or when I'm gonna hang out with my dad, and so that started like triggering, that started like, what I'm saying, turning the ball for me, started thinking like, okay, so what are my parents doing? Like what we doing? You feel me? So yeah, I think just at an early age, after, seeing other kids, they parents doing stuff with them, my parents just not to down or anything like that, but so one individual I feel like was just on to slack off like all the way. I'm just looking like, dang. So
Okay. Keon, where you at, buddy?
Yeah, I feel like for me, what really helps me, what helps me understand all of this is just first you gotta acknowledge that the trauma is real. You know what I'm saying? We tend to, especially as men, we tend to be like, man, it is what it is. You know what I mean? I try to power through it. And even sometimes when you try to, maybe bring it up to relatives and they might try to downplay and be like, oh, it ain't as bad as you remember, or it wasn't all that. Both sides, we gotta acknowledge for ourselves what I went through is real. And what happened was real. You know what I'm saying? It had to be that openness and that transparency. And then after you get that down, you gotta acknowledge, okay, that trauma didn't just appear out of thin air. And it's almost like a trauma trail. Trauma doesn't just come out of nowhere. Hurt people hurt people. So the people that might have hurt me at some point definitely experienced some trauma on their own. And that trail definitely goes beyond them. The people that hurt them will probably hurt themselves. And we don't have to, we all know what happened several hundred years ago. That was a trauma factory. And so it's plenty enough trauma to go around. And so at some point I have to say, when do I stop the cycle of trauma and start substituting that with grace? You know what I'm saying? And so, because as I said, hurt people. And we all went through these real experiences and we're justified in being hurt, but we're not justified in not doing something about it and making sure that the future generations aren't hurt by our mistakes and our lack of acknowledging that we're hurt. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So, okay. No, I get that. I feel like, and, kind of piggying back to Cuz, like, I get what you're saying, Cuz, but it's like, yes, it's a way for you to kind of get past it and say, okay, I'm not going to let someone have, this hold on me, right? Because you're hurt, and you're not getting past the pain. But how do you, I guess, to see that and get past that, like, what are things that you kind of do? Because I'm gonna speak for me, like, the only thing that I know how to do is cut you off. Like, if you did me dirty, I'm not, y'all know me, I don't care if you're my family. Like, if you did me dirty and you don't acknowledge it and you don't say, hey, I'm sorry, I know what I did to you was wrong, I want us to get past it and I want us to move forward. If you can't acknowledge that to me, because we family, you're supposed to love me, right? If you can't do that, then there's no place for you in my life. So for you not to go as extreme as me, because I may be a little extreme, I cut you off. How do you have a relationship, with them, a cordial relationship without cutting them off, but you still kind of have that trauma, or them, how am I trying to say this? Talking to them brings that trauma back up, because, we know a crackhead, the only way that a crackhead can really go into remission is also, of course, to put the pipe down, but you got to get away from the crackheads. You can't be in the same spot with the crackheads like you used to be, right? Because otherwise, that's temptation. You're gonna fall right back into the same situation. So how are you able to be in the heat of the fire but move differently?
Right. So
okay, so you asking Keon that, or we spinning that around?
I want everybody to kind of, I want us to kind of talk on that.
Okay, so I'll jump out there and then we can keep the rotation. So for me, that's a good question. So for me, it's not a perfect formula or nothing like that. It's kind of figure things out as you go. But what I've seen that has worked for me is it's because basically what you're pointing at is trigger points. Mm-hmm. So you can have a trauma and you can get on the other side of it, but there's certain things that you set up in your environment, it could be trigger points. Mm-hmm. And so the first step is like being aware that you have triggers. And it's okay to have triggers, but now you're more aware of those triggers. And so sometimes you have to structure your life in a way that those triggers don't happen as often, especially like if it's a trigger and you're going to blow up or something like that. But I did a lot of work with a coach some time ago, and we talked about those things, that very thing that you're talking about. And so sometimes it's just because it's family or it's an old friend, sometimes as long as you've done everything that you can and you know you're not holding like anything against that person as it relates to like you feeling some type of way, you angry at them, you're past that stage and you've extended olive branches as much as you like. Well, first thing you have to understand, do I even want to repair this situation? Because you can forget someone and just like say, hey, look, I have nothing against you, but I'm moving in a different direction. And so you have to come to these realizations on your own. Are you fighting for a relationship that you really don't even really want to have? Like, that's not really going to lead to anything. But so for me, I could tell you what practical things that I've done for the people that I want to have a relationship with, even if there's still some triggering things that happen, I'm aware of those things. And if I made the decision that I want to have those relationships, I'm very intentional on my environment in terms of how often I'm exposed to those triggers. So if I know if I'm building the muscle and I really want to have a relationship, but there's some triggering things that are happening, we may not be talking every day. I want you in my life, but we may be talking once a month. We might be talking once a week. It might be twice. I don't know. But so once again, I want to have the relationship. Because I have scenarios and family members that I'm not close with, and I genuinely have nothing against them. I've literally exhausted the olive branch, so I don't feel any type of way. I feel guilt, shame, or why aren't we talking anymore? And I've reached out, and I just came to the conclusion, like, extended grace. They are who they are. I don't expect them to be me, but I got to keep moving. And that toxic and it's something going on with them that I can't control. I can only control me. So I can't control what they have going on, but I made sure I did what I could do, and then I moved on. And that's what it is. And if I see you, I come visit. Hey, what's good? Hey, how are you? How you doing? But maybe that person wasn't meant to be in my life, and I'm okay with that. It was a point because it was a family. We're family, so I gotta force this to work. But they're humans too. Yes, the family label, but heck, it's other people that aren't my family that has become my family, and is more of a connection there. So I extend family beyond my immediate family, not to disassociate with them, but if you want to have a relationship with me, we'll have one. Well, it takes two people for a relationship to happen, not just one. And so,
I
that's
commend
kind
you,
of where I'm
bro.
at with it.
I
That's
commend you.
where I'm at with it. Like, and for me, being married and me being the head of my household, I have to be an example. And so I'm always striving for growth and to get better. And so I'm always chasing growth. So a part of growth is forgiving. A part of ascending as that next level man is, despite someone hurting me, like it does.
So I think your sound going out.
Yeah, something going on with your sound. After you muted, yeah, I don't know.
Can you guys hear me?
All right, you back
Yeah.
now. You good now?
My bad. So I close it real quick because I say so. Me, because I'm chasing growth and the things that I'm looking to do for my family, I cannot afford to have that trauma on me. That would be weighing me down. I can't afford to hate somebody. Like I can't afford to be angry with somebody.
Okay. Because I got questions, but I want everybody to talk. You know what I'm saying? So before I ask, another question. So, all right, I'm gonna let you jump on in here, Keon. Come on.
I mean, it's funny. I'm glad you asked that. Like for me, I even recently I started looking at things differently because I just started taking a course at the business school, and it's about family and business and running family businesses. And one thing this course has shown me is that it's a myth thinking that you can have a messed up family life and then come to work or run your own business and have it be and have those tendencies not correlate. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be a relationship somewhere. Those feelings that you're feeling over here are going to manifest over here somewhere, somehow, some way in your decision making, in the way you think, in the way you react to situations. And so as men, I feel like, as a man, I'm going to end up being the quarterback of my own family one day. You know what I'm saying? And so as quarterbacks, you got to be as level-headed as possible so that your defense, which is life, can't exploit you for your tendencies. If they know that all they got to do is send an extra blitzer and you're going to rush out the pocket, or you're going to have a long night. You know what I'm saying? And so figuring out what can I do to make sure that, like, think of who's the best quarterback in football. Tom Brady. He ain't no super athlete. He ain't running no 4.2. He's the product of matching that mental acuity with that emotional sharpness. He's the best because you can't get into his head. You know what I'm saying? And so the way I look at it is that I'm responsible for my own healing, because if I'm in charge of my own empire, I have to be responsible for my own healing and making sure that it gets done. Because we know that as people get higher in power, their character flaws or the trauma that they haven't dealt with, it doesn't go away. It only becomes more apparent the higher you go up.
Okay.
That's real.
Yeah, KJ, what you got?
I mean, with me, right? I think I'm still working through. You know what I'm saying? How I'm like let it go or whatever. I mean, for the most part, I feel like I let it go, but like me being in the military, I think I've met a lot of people in the military, and I've gained close relationships with a lot of people. That I consider myself to be family with. People I can just depend on no matter what happens. So now I'm to the point to where like kind of going back what Kenny said, like I'm to the point to where now like I want to better myself. Like I seen what happened, you know, it's in my childhood. I seen what I went through, and like I'm to the point to where now I don't want to go through that again. Like when I have kids, or I don't want to put that negative energy on people that I might, you know, I might love, or I might care about. So now I'm just like, you know what I'm saying, now I'm just to the point to where like I'm just trying to work on that. And I mean, I've had, you know what I'm saying, those tough relationships. I mean, those tough discussions with certain people, certain individuals that I want to continue to have a relationship with that I feel like has impacted me negatively a little bit growing up. So I think now I'm at the point where I'm still trying to figure it out, you know. So I can't really give you an answer how I cope with it, but yeah, I'm getting there for sure.
So, you know, I want to hit a different type of angle with it, because it's funny. I thought I was actually over the traumas for a while, right? Like I had been taking the steps, you know, I had, you know, went through counseling, right? I went through counseling, you know, moving forward with my life. And honestly, honest the truth, man, like I thought I was good. And then I had a son of my own, right? And so some of the traumas like surfaced, and I'm talking about things from my childhood, right? So that I didn't even think about as I was even, you know, going through therapy and talking and, you know, discussing these situations. And now I have a son of my own, and having a son of my own made me look at this so-called structure, you know, family dynamic, whatever we want to call it, right? It's a structure. It made me look at it totally different, because here it is, I have this child, right? And he needs me, right? He needs me like no one else needs me. And it was a trigger. It was a big trigger, because now I'm looking at my son, and now I'm looking at myself as a child, a helpless child, right? That couldn't do anything. So now, you know, this 30-plus-year-old man turns to a 4-year-old kid. That 4-year-old kid in me that needed love, that needed a hug, that needed a attaboy, or all of those different things resurfaces, right? Because that 4-year-old kid wasn't taken care of. And so I had to go through that entire process all over again, because I had a child, and it was a triggering situation for me in that fact. So I wanted to kind of throw that out there, because we are talking about triggers and, you know, that family dynamic. But the question that I had also is as well is like, how do you still, you know, not kind of be triggered? Because, okay, and I'm gonna give you an example, right? You say, you know what, this is family. Like I said, we throwing the word out there. This is family. I'm supposed to, you know, at least have some type of cordial relationship. I'm supposed to at least be able to communicate with them. How do you do that in a perspective? And either one of y'all can jump in. How do you do that without sacrificing yourself in that relationship?
So
because and let me add this piece, because we know they are who they are, right? They are who they are, and you're trying, but you feel like I have to be less of myself to even communicate. So how do you do that?
So again, I don't have like this magic solution, but I've actually had conversations with, you know, with my coach through and being coached through these scenarios, and it helped give me a different perspective. Is what has really tremendously helped me. Like triggering things for me is not being held accountable. Triggering things for me is not improving your finances and continuously making and continuously doing self-sabotaging things and saying God is going to work it out. You know, and so that's a triggering event for me. I'm talking about me specifically. When you have health concerns, but you continue to eat yourself into a grave versus eat yourself into health with the power of God with you. So eating well and praying for your wellness and having two things working for you together. Same thing with your finance. So to over lean on God and not actually do the work, and not necessarily from a, you guys have more access than we have. No, we all had access to the Bible. The Bible, like, we didn't need the internet for the Bible if we really wanted to get into the meat and potatoes of things, And so those are triggering events to me. So meaning when I'm interacting with someone and I hear, some things where I'm like, I don't hear no accountability in this conversation. All I hear is, and it's triggering for me. But what really helped me release it, because those were triggers for me, I adjusted my life and I hold myself accountable. And I still use the power of God, but I put in that work too. But what helped me was I released the expectation of others, meaning expecting people to do something, expecting them to do something different than what they've been doing. And so I don't go in scenarios with me expecting them to change or expecting them to, why should they change? And who am I to say that they should change and to change the way I think they should be? But who am I to even think that way?
All right, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this too, since you're here. But shouldn't you have an expectation of how people treat you in your space?
Yeah. So for me, yeah, absolutely. But when I'm interacting with someone that I want to have a relationship with, I'm interacting with them and there's the mutual respect. So it's not like they're disrespecting me or nothing like that. They being who they are. I'm being who I am. I understand there's certain conversations that I'm not going to have, because there's no point in having certain conversations, but they're not doing something to me that's making me feel like I'm losing myself, because it's a relationship I want to have. And it's, and I'm going into it where it could be lighthearted. I'm not looking to solve some strategy or provide some solution or have them do something that I feel that they should do. And so that's what allows me to go in with an open mind, open heart, and not really have any expectations with the individuals I want to have a relationship with. And it's mutual. So that's what really helped me, is just removing expectations. My expectations. So I could set expectations for my life, but I can't set expectations for someone else's life. And I used to try to say what other people should be doing. That's not my business. That's not my business.
Okay. I got it. Because you sticking with your triggers. So you basically talking about, based off of your triggers, these are the things that help you stay on point. So, okay, I get it. You know what I'm saying?
And if I'm on the phone with that person and the trigger come up, because I don't have any expectations, I'm like, it come in my head, trigger, it's like alert, but I just let it pass, because I'm not trying to solve for anything when I'm interacting with them. So the trigger is not really bothering me. And if it get to a point where like I get overwhelmed or something and they just start going down a whole rabbit hole of something, hey, I'm gonna have to talk to you later, I got something to do, versus getting into a whole debate about them being who they are and me being who I am.
Okay.
I'll chat with you later, talk to you later, gotta go.
Okay. Y'all on mute. KJ, what you got?
Like I said, I'm still trying to work through mine. Like, you know what I'm saying? For the most part, I forgave those certain individuals. But when it comes to me, I just I'm to the point to where hey, my time is important. If you go, like you said, kind of like what y'all said earlier, working together. If we're gonna have a relationship, it's gonna be you and me working together, not just me. Oh, I'm trying to reach out to you all the time, blah blah. So me and these certain individuals, when we talk or whatever, I kind of just go in there with an open mind. I just kind of go okay, I don't try to, I don't try to give no advice. I don't try nothing. I just sit there, listen. We might talk about some things or whatever, but for the most part, I'm sitting there just listening or whatever. And when it gets to the point to where kind of talking about trigger points, when it gets to the point to where I feel like they might say something or something might happen to it, kind of gets me upset or kind of brings me back to that old KJ. I'm like, you know what, nah, we're not gonna go down it again. So either like I kind of try to avoid it, you know what I'm saying? I try to switch the combo, or if it get too bad for me, I just like we can talk later. You feel me? We can talk later, and just try to get away from that because I refuse to go back. I refuse to go back, or I refuse to let something in the past, you know what I'm saying, affect me again. It's already happened. I moved past from it, so yeah.
Okay. Ken?
For me, it's like, so when you throw that family word in there, it turns the simplest situations into, it feels like these complex, heart-wrenching, you know what I'm saying, manners. And so it's hard to separate that emotion from it, because that emotion is real, and it's turned up to 10 when it's family, you know what I'm saying? And so you have being aware of that in the first place, saying, you know what can I do to make sure that I'm putting myself in the best mental and emotional space? Because right now, and it goes back to the quarterback thing, I'm leading a family. So right now, my best way to change this family is to be the change in this family. And you know what? I can say I don't see this, or I can say I want to be this. You know what I'm saying? At some point, I got to figure out, what do I want to be? And as I'm shaping my mission of what I'm doing in life, which relatives are helping me, which relatives are helping me with that, and which ones are not even just a relative, anybody in life. If you're not helping me reach that goal, then you're by nature not helping me, which means you're taking me away from that goal, and that means you're taking away from the family. And so to me, family isn't, of course, it's by blood, but it's also by action. Are you building a family, or are you taking the family away? I mean, remove it from 2021 and take it back to 2021 BC. If you found a member of the clan doing actions that's harmful to the family, like stealing food or they setting stuff on fire, we would have exiled them.
No matter what.
So that's what I'm saying. So it's not like these feelings, you know what I'm saying? It's strong feelings, and it's 2021. You can't exile people anymore. So it's coming to terms and saying, like, okay, our family's our family. You're stuck with your family. So what can we do to make the best of the situation? Let's make the best of what we can. Because you can't press a button and say, boom, new family. It don't work like that. It's playing a video game. So what can I do with these relationships? What can I do to where I don't burn these bridges completely? Because I need, what if I need a new kidney one day? You know what I'm saying? What if they need a new kidney? You know what I'm saying? I wanna be able to have the same grace in those interactions that I would want somebody to have with my child, you know what I'm saying? Or somebody that's in the younger generation. The only way to dead that trauma, to start lessening that trauma trail, is by creating less triggers. And that's by taking away the trauma out. You know what I'm saying? Trauma is just gonna keep creating more trauma, and that's gonna lead to more triggers being created, and the cycle gonna keep going.
We pass down trauma that's not necessarily ours, or we've received it. And it's crazy because we don't even know we're receiving trauma until we're put in those situations, or as we get older. And now we like, whoa, that wasn't right. Like, and not only was that not right, that affects my life big time. And so guess what you find yourself doing? You find yourself releasing shackles, or trying to, get these shackles off you, because now you know better, you do better, you see better, right? But it's a hard process. It's an extremely, extremely hard process, because now you're trying to dead weight in your life that's been put on you for years. And you're trying to figure out ways to get rid of that weight, as fast as possible, right? So you're not harming others around you, right? Because these processes that was put in you could make you now, feel some type of way towards, not only, your family, or I like to say relatives, because family is not the same thing, but or people that you meet, right? But you want to make sure that those processes don't continue, and you've inherited this, like what you're saying, Keon, and now you're going to pass that same trauma down. So at some point, someone has to say, the buck stops here. We're not doing this no more. We're going to have something different from the future, going into the future, the present and the future, and move differently. But hey man, we might have to turn this into a two-parter here. and continue this conversation next week, because I think we hadn't finished this. So yeah, we're gonna continue the same next week.
Yeah, this is definitely good. As y'all can tell, I'm on the move. Got my mentee with me, Jamon.
Hey,
What's
how you
going
doing,
on,
man?
brother?
We going to a coder camp. He a future hooper that might be coding. We'll see.
All right. Okay.
But no,
Allen
no,
Iverson and Steve Wozniak.
but this was good combo though. Always, approaching things from.